pastor who speaks to the people of God about the things of God.
Here is a man who came to see you 20 years ago, wanting to know about the neighborhood. Barack Obama was a skeptic when it came to religion. He sought you out because he knew you knew about the community. You led him to the faith. You performed his wedding ceremony. You baptized his 2 children. You were for 20 years his spiritual counselor. He has said that. And yet he, in that speech at Philadelphia, had to say some hard things about you. How did it go down with you when you heard Barack Obama say those things?
It went down very simply. He's a politician, I'm a pastor. We speak to 2 different audiences. And he says what he has to say as a politician. I say what I have to say as a pastor. Those are 2 different worlds. I do what I do. He does what politicians do. So that what happened in Philadelphia, where he had to respond to the sound bites, he responded as a politician. But he did not disown me because I'm a pastor.
But even some of your admirers say it would be wrong to gloss over what Martin Marty himself who loves you, called your abrasive edges. For example, you know, Louis Farrakhan lives in the south part of Chicago, doesn't he? You've had a long, complicated relationship with him, right?
Yeah.
And he's expressed racist and anti-Semitic remarks, and yet last year... 20 years ago. But that's indefensible.
The Nation of Islam and Mr. Farrakhan have more African-American men off of drugs, more African-American men respecting themselves, more African-American men working for a living, not gang-banging, not trying to get by. That's not indefensible in terms of how you make a difference in the prisons, turning people's lives around, giving people hope, getting people off drugs. We don't believe the same things in terms of our specific faith. He's Muslim, I'm Christian. We don't believe the same things that he said years ago, but that has nothing to do with what he has done in terms of helping people change their lives for the better. I said, direct quote was what? Louis Farrakhan is like E.F. Hutton. When Louis Farrakhan speaks, Black America listens. They may not agree with him, but they're listening.
What does it say to you that millions of Americans, according to polls, still think Barack Obama is a Muslim?
It says to me that corporate media and miseducation or misinformation or disinformation, I think we started calling it during the Nixon years, still reign supreme. 30-some% of Americans still think they're weapons of mass destruction. That you tell a lie long enough that people start believing it. But what does the media do? Barack Hussein Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. It sounds like Osama Obama. That kind of fear-mongering based on ignorance. So that's why many people still think he's a Muslim. He went to a madrasa. What's a madrasa? I don't know, but I know it's one of them Muslim schools to teach terrorism. That kind of I don't want to think, just tell me what to think mentality is why so many Americans still think that.
Our denomination, the United Church of Christ, has called for a sacred conversation on race in America. What are the steps that you think, from all of your experience, could be taken to move race relations forward?
I think there are many. To start using Bill Jones's paradigm, that how one sees God, your theology, determines one's anthropology, and how you see humans determines your sociology, to look at how we've come to see race and others of other races based on our understanding of God, who sees others as less than important, less than my people. And where in our religious traditions are there passages in our sacred scriptures that are racist? They're in the Vedas, they're in the Babylonian Talmud, they're in the Quran, they're in the Bible. How do we grapple with these passages in our sacred texts? The same way you grapple with Judges 19, where it's all right for a preacher to have a concubine and cut her up into 12 pieces. We got to argue with our texts that are, as we've been struggling with, battling with, wrestling with, anti-Semitic. The Jews killed Jesus. We got to come to grips with, you know, these texts were written by certain people at certain times with certain racist understandings of others who are different. That different meant deficient. doing that with adults, but starting with kids. That begins the conversation that Senator Obama talked about that we need to have, and rewriting the curriculum in our schools to tell the truth in our schools.
Jeremiah Wright, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you for having me, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
That's it for The Journal. We'll see you next week, and in the meantime, online. I'm Bill Moyers.
Find out more about Black theology. Log on at pbs.org. This episode of Bill Moyers' Journal is available on DVD or VHS for $29.95. To order, call 1-800-336-1917 or write to the address on your screen.